The hysteria that we're hearing out of the likes of MSNBC. Oh my goodness, the hand-wringing, the crying, the sobbing, the concern that they're all going to jail momentarily. They're going to lose their shows. If they do, it will be because of ratings, not because of Donald Trump. But the queen of that network, Rachel Maddow, is having a full-on freak out there on the air. I want you to catch a clip of this as she's responding to the Supreme Court's immunity ruling. Watch.
Your thoughts. I remember talking to you the day of oral arguments when we did a special, and I think everyone's reaction to that was, whoa, are they going to do this?
Yeah.
We got our answer.
I remember talking to you about this, Chris, the day they chose to take it up. I mean, the decision to take it up itself was so gobsmacking. And I'm generally a glass half empty kind of person. I always see the cloud before I see the silver lining. But even when they took it up, I remember you and I talking about the radicalism of that decision in itself. Because when the district court, the first level federal court, ruled on this issue, basically the rule was, duh, of course a president isn't immune. When the appeals court then looked at that and reviewed that decision, it was a unanimous, absolutely bulletproof decision from that appeals court where the bottom line was essentially, duh, of course, no, a president can't be immune. So it was gobsmacking when the Supreme Court took it up. But I remember talking to you that day, and in my glass half empty kind of way, I thought, well, even under the worst case scenario, it's not like they're going to decide that he's immune. It's just outrageous that they've taken it up because this will allow for months of delay and will effectively give him temporary immunity before the election. And once the election happens, if he wins, he makes all the prosecutions go away anyway. I really did not expect that they would do this. And they, Donald Trump and his counsel, asked for this 100% absolute immunity thing, which was insane. I would say they got 105% of what they were asking for. They got immunity from this court, despite some of the language in Justice Roberts' ruling saying that there was some measure of humility or some measure of restraint. The practical impact of what they have done is to give Trump immunity that even he and his counsel did not ask for. And given that the hypotheticals over the course of these arguments, as you rightly pointed out, included things like, can the president assassinate a rival? I think we have to look at the Supreme Court's affirmative answer to that. Yes, you can. With as much seriousness as it deserves. I mean, this is a death squad ruling. This is a ruling that says that as long as you can construe it as an official or quasi-official act, you can do absolutely anything, and never be held accountable, not only while you are president, but forever. And this is a president who has activated pro-Trump paramilitary groups that, wear insignia and T-shirts and hold placards celebrating literally right-wing death squads, right? This is a president who has talked about absolutely using the Justice Department to go after his rivals. This explicitly immunizes anything the president wants to do through the Justice Department, but all but explicitly justifies anything the president wants to do, full stop, to anyone. And that is...
Wow. I mean, you need to see that because you need to see how crazy these people really are. I mean, who's using the Justice Department right about now to go after rivals? Who might be doing that? 91 counts. A nearly $500 million, $500 million fine because Letitia James wants to be able to decide the valuation on the former president's home in Florida rather than the bank and him. Unbelievable. So just to be clear, Chief Justice John Roberts writing that the president may not be prosecuted for exercising his core constitutional powers. In other words, it is the power of the Constitution that gives him immunity. Rachel Maddow, not the court in this case. It is the Constitution. So this is misguided, irresponsible, a flagrant lie that she's floating out there into the ether to see if you will buy it. It's frankly pretty disgusting. And moving on, Chief Justice Roberts writing for the court that the president is entitled at a minimum to a presumptive immunity from prosecution for all his official acts, not for his personal, but for his official acts as the President of the United States. And Roberts said that without such expansive immunity, then guess what? Without this expansive immunity from future prosecution, presidents might hesitate from bold action to further the nation's interests. In other words, you need the freaking indemnification clause, right? They can't go after you forever for everything, because then you really do turn into some kind of banana republic. Every president winds up in jail, along with the vice president, along with the rest of the team. Wow. To rule otherwise, he writes, could forever create an executive branch that cannibalizes itself, with each successive president free to prosecute his predecessors, yet unable to boldly and fearlessly carry out his duties for fear that he may be next. Well said. Well said. And yet, you got the likes of Sotomayor and Elena Kagan and Ketanji Brown Jackson politicizing this to no end, writing that the decision, quote, makes a mockery of the principle foundational to our Constitution and system of government, that no man is above the law. Of course, nobody ever said that Justice Sonia Sotomayor was a rocket scientist. Now, did they? No, in fact, if we go back in time to 2010, Larry Tribe, who's over at Harvard and a very political, partisan guy, wrote a whole letter. Actually, forgive me, this was 2009. May 4th, 2009. Wrote a whole letter to Obama saying, "Dear Mr. President, this lady is no good effectively. She's a dummy. She's a total dummy," bluntly put. He was more eloquent than that. He writes, "She's not nearly as smart as she seems to think she is." This is Tribe writing on May 4th, 2009 to the President of the United States about Sotomayor. Tribe said that Sotomayor had obvious benefits in terms of, quote, her personal history and demographic appeal. Translation, you know what? She checks a box. She checks a box, but she's a dummy. But that she would likely have a, quote, negative impact on efforts to win over Justice Anthony Kennedy on key votes. Oh, wow. Neither Steve Breyer nor Ruth Ginsburg, he wrote, has much of a purchase on Tony Kennedy's mind, and that she would actually be quite detrimental overall because she's just not smart enough for the job. We know. Apparently, there's a lot of people that check a lot of boxes that get on the court that just don't really seem that smart. Because the smart thing to do is to be thinking through the implications and the future, and to be thinking about what the Constitution, in essence, provides you with. And again, the Constitution is providing this immunity from expansive future prosecution because we need our presidents to be bold. Anyway, this means tough luck for Jack Smith. Tough luck for the media, but they're going to use this and use this and use this again. You know who knows that Sonia Sotomayor is a, dare I say, dummy? Besides Larry Tribe, Ty Cobb. He's one of the former president's attorneys, or has been one of his attorneys. Let's listen to him. I believe he's on Fox talking about, or CNN. One of those big networks that Steve Bannon hates. Let's go.
Decisions that we'll see in the upcoming weeks, but this case is not dead.
I was struck by, I think a number of people were, just how sharp the dissent was from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who wrote, in every use of official power, the president is now a king above the law. Orders the Navy's SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power, immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon, immune. What's your reaction to her very strong dissent?
So I thought her dissent was a little hysterical, and it really offered no analysis. A lot of screaming, no analysis. And I think that was unfortunate. I'm disappointed that Justice Kagan didn't write a dissent that sharply focused on the separation of powers issues, which are the core issues here. You can't design a rule that is solely about Trump without putting, the democracy at risk and eliminating some of the restraints that have historically gotten us through 250 years. Separation of powers is the cornerstone of the Constitution, and as much as I wish Trump would get his comeuppance and his due for his evil conduct, the reality is you just can't go out and have a result-oriented effort by the Supreme Court. It needs to be based on principle and precedent. And I think for the most part, this is. I was disappointed that Justice Sotomayor didn't address at all the separation of powers issue, which is what the case was decided on.
Really interesting commentary. So obviously no love lost there. Ty Cobb is the former attorney to Donald Trump, and he's happy to be former, right? He does not like Trump. He makes that very, very clear. And yet he's pointing out as well, someone who does not like Donald Trump, saying you've got to actually be true to the law here, and that she was just a political animal. Again, when you write, with fear for our democracy, I dissent. That's politics. It is total politics. And when you take to the airwaves at 7:45 p.m. after the abominable debate you had, lousy, awful, horrendous debate where everybody is left saying, oh my gosh, this guy has dementia, and you hog up the airtime because you want to make a big deal, a political stink over the Supreme Court, who's just actually looking out for us and for our country. So we have another 250 years. Thank you very much. Then you, Joe Biden, you are the problem. It is sickening what they are doing right now.